Hello, hi. Thank you for clicking on today's video and welcome to our second ever Maya Uncut video. You guys, these videos are kind of scary for me to speak to all of you in an unedited way. Right now I have laundry going in the background. I'm sitting on the floor with my blanket. It's like as vulnerable as it gets. And in today's Maya Uncut, I am going to be addressing your topics. So I put out a community post and I definitely encourage you all to check out my posts. I don't post that often, but sometimes I do. And I ask for your ideas about what to discuss in a Maya Uncut video. Now, I got 5 very sort of big ideas, and so in order to keep this video of a reasonable length, I am going to just share the first thing that comes to mind in response to each of the topics that you all have brought up. And if you have a topic on your mind, keep a watch on the community tab for future idea postings like this one, where you can put your idea, okay? So again, this is the first thing that comes to mind, and I may do in-depth videos on some of these topics too. So the first person asked about aspects in astrology between the Sun and Neptune and the impact on personal relationships. And I mean, first of all, if you have Sun-Neptune connections, it's possible that you inherited some intuitive, artistic, psychic gifts and abilities from your father or grandfather. That's something that comes to mind. There may be something in the family lineage. You are very likely yourself to have an intuitive, musical, or artistic gift, and it may be difficult for other people to understand this gift. I think, you know, in my own chart, I have this aspect. So I have the Sun in conjunct Neptune, and we talked a little bit about human design, and I'm a profile 5 too. I exist in the projection field, and I think no matter your human design, if you have a Sun-Neptune conjunction, or say, for example, an opposition, a square, whatever the aspect, there is an element of existing in the projection field. Now, keep in mind, all of us live in our own reality. There is no one, no matter whether it could be your exact twin, and you could live like the exact same life where you do the same thing all the time. No one sees reality in the same way. All of us see the same world through different eyes, but if you've got like these Neptune Sun conjunction, I don't know why I keep saying conjunctions. Do you have the conjunction? If you have the conjunction, I mean, and maybe you do. If you have the Sun Neptune conjunction, it's very unlikely that anyone is going to see you clearly. That would probably be like the ultimate projection field. And I just think if you have Neptune with the Sun, you've just got to allow others to see in you what they would like to see. I think that's general, like, good advice, like, for life anyway. And understand there may be mysteries in the family. There may be mysteries with your relatives, with your lineage. There may have been people who were involved in secret dealings. There could be things that you don't know. And I think whenever we see Neptune in the Sun, you are a mystery unto yourself. And that's kind of a good thing. Like, how do we want to have everything figured out? That'd be so boring. Like, if you know everything about who you are and how you became the person that you are today, then what's the point in living? Do you know what I mean? What's the point in the journey? And so I would say Sun, Neptune aspects, look for the hidden gift. Is it artistic? Is it musical? Is it intuitive? Is there something passed down from a generation? And don't expect anyone to understand you. Everything that is seen within you is probably there somewhere, but it's probably unreasonable to expect someone to fully understand all of who you are. And it's probably unreasonable to expect yourself to fully understand who you are. So that's some of my thoughts on the Sun with Neptune. Oh my gosh, okay. Do you know, like, I thought I did a series of videos on the North Node signs, and one of you put in the comments recently that I didn't, and I was like, what? Because I remembered doing it. And then I remembered, you guys, this is a whole other thing. I did it, but I did it in a twin flame way, and all of my twin flame content is private. Like, so I've actually created a ton of content that you cannot see on my channel right now, and more on that later. Maybe I'll talk about that in a Maya Uncut. But I have made these videos, and I don't know that I have the energy to make them again. But here's what I'll say about North Node in Leo. Out of the head and into the heart. Get out of the head and into the heart. Stop thinking. Start living. Start emoting. And I know it's scary to let other people see you cry or scream or dance or whatever, but do it anyway. Express yourself. North Node in Leo, express yourself. These individuals can sometimes define themselves by like their friends or the people that are around them. You are special. You are important. You are here to shine. North Node in Leo, dress yourself in a lot of jewelry. Like, no, it doesn't have to be jewelry, but like truly wear what you want. You know, I think like the South Node in Aquarius, it's like we all belong to the same club, and we all wear the same pin, or we all wear the same t-shirt. And by the way, I'm about that. I love that. But like North Node and Leo have the courage to stand out. Develop confidence in who you are that isn't based on who you know. North Node in Leo. I think like, I'm just imagining and remembering like this time where I was at the zoo. Oh, I know zoos are, we probably all have different thoughts on zoos, and I can see both sides, but it is great to see these wonderful animals up close, and most of us probably would never have that experience in the wild, and we probably would not want to, but I remember like walking through my local zoo, and just all of a sudden just rah, like just like this like crazy big sound, and it was my one and only experience in life hearing a lion roar. And I was very close to the lion den, and so I got to see it like with his mouth all open, and there appeared to be no reason whatsoever that it was roaring. It just felt like it. And that's everything. That is North Node in Leo. Like, that is everything. Like, you roar just because you want to. That's it. Like, that's it. Like, that's what you're here to learn. Okay, one of you asked about living on my astrocartography lines. Okay, I really do want to make a separate video on this, but I need to observe longer because I've only been living here on my Jupiter line for less than 1 month. But I've lived on 3 lines, like exactly on, so blah, 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 astrocartography being within 200 miles, or that would be about like maybe 350K or so of a line is considered living on the line. So I've lived on 3 lines to the best of my knowledge. And we've got a variation here at Mars, the North Node, and now Jupiter. In my experience, these have manifested in a very literal way. Like, my life has taken to the descriptions in my natal chart of the lines that I lived on. So on astro.com, you can input your information in the extended chart selection, and then if you scroll down, you can select, I don't know what it's called, I'm sorry, but it's at the very bottom left. And there's a way to generate a map that shows your planets as lines. So anyway, oh, well, when I lived on my Mars line, I didn't know, I did not know that the Mars was the greater malefic in my chart. So if you're born during the day, when the sun is out, the sun is hot, the additional hotness of Mars is, no, this is based on ancient astrology, okay? So it's considered to be too much hot. It's considered to be the most negative or challenging planet. If you're born at night, it's cold. Saturn makes things colder. Saturn is considered to be the worst. Oh my God, it was horrible. Oh my God, it was so horrible, so bad. It was so bad. I'm scared, like thinking about it. Like in all seriousness, living on my Mars line was the worst choice I've ever made in my life. That's the truth. Okay, like I'm just so uncut right now, you guys. I mean, you're getting my real reaction, and it was, I have nightmares on a regular basis, not as much as I used to, thank God. I mean, I used to 12, 13 times a night awaken from nightmares about having to go back to my Mars line. And I would always be like on the bus at the airport about to get to the terminal, and in the dream over and over again, I would dream it, and I would always like, because it was like a pressure thing, like I felt pressured or like I agreed, which I did. I signed a contract to go to the Mars line. And over again, I dreamed it. And I would always like force myself to go, and then I would always die, which I did. I died on my Mars line. I know that sounds absolutely crazy. But I got severely ill, fell into a coma, and I've never gotten well. I'm not well now. I developed a disease on the Mars line that is still uncured. I belong to research studies through Harvard. I belong to an NIH study. They're trying to figure it out. Something strange happened. It was very, like, I know it was meant to be, you guys, like, everything is meant, like, I believe, like, in my life, if it's very fated, like, it was gonna happen. But anyway, I'd have nightmares, and I dreamed until in the dreams, I started to choose not to go and give myself permission not to go. And before moving to that Mars line, I experienced a lot of stress and distress and negative feelings. And I went anyway because of commitment to because it was my plan. So that's like my South Node in Virgo, like I planned to do it. It was the next step, like for me in my master's degree, this and that. So I went, and I experienced a great deal of challenge. I've never experienced as much challenge as I experienced on my Mars line. In the end, I was medically evacuated as I became so ill, and there was no cure to be found. So that's what happened on my Mars line. So then I decided to do an experiment. So this one was conscious, moving to my North Node line. I guess I just figured that it was destiny. And there was like a couple of people that I was really close to that lived on the North Node line, and my North Node's in the 7th house. So I was like, let me go and like test out these relationships and see if they're like workable. And what I ended up learning was all the hard relational skills. Like it was like a master class in communication and boundaries and like managing conflict, and it was a lot of learning. One thing I did not expect, because I primarily thought like when I moved there, I would learn about the personal relationships, but those are not actually the relationships that mattered the most during my year living on my North Node line. So it kind of gave me a new idea of like what my North Node is actually about, because the relationships that were strengthened. So like, again, my North Node is in the 7th house, so that can be best friends, business partners, something more, romantic connections. The relationships that grew and benefited significantly were my client relationships. It was the one-on-one connections with those that I do readings for. And that was huge. I mean, I really didn't have close relationships with any of my clients before moving to that line when I really think about it. And now I have close relationships, and I'm so blessed to, but now, like I became close with many of my clients, and I started to think of my work in a whole new way. Before, I don't know what I was thinking of it as, but I guess I just thought I'd do a reading and then that's it. And I didn't think like, okay, I'm deeply involved in these individuals' lives on an ongoing basis, contributing to their soul development and evolution and this and that. So I became way closer and way more involved in people's lives. It was a hard, like, it was this a whole other thing, like, that has to do with having a bajillion million allergies to all kinds of stuff in the air, and really serious allergic condition that made it extremely important for me to, like, in my in-person relationships there, to communicate very, very strongly and very, very clearly exactly what could be around me, what couldn't, and stuff like that. So it was like a master class in boundaries, like I said, and managing conflict and communication and all those things. So I would not recommend that a person lives on their North Node line for a long period. But if you do want to learn a lot in a short time, I would recommend living a short time, like 6 months on your North Node line, or 3 months, or a year. But when I left, I was ready. I was ready before I left. I was ready to leave. Like, I was like, okay, like I learned a lot. Like, I need to integrate what I've learned. So I decided to move to my Jupiter line, which is where I'm at now. So like I said, I haven't really been here long enough to experience like the full effects. But it's been lucky for me so far. I mean, like I said, these lines have been like pretty literal in their manifestations. Pretty much every single problem that I've had since arriving here has had a miraculous solution. Like for example, I ordered all these like allergy-friendly, safe cleaning supplies, and there was an issue. Like it kind of like auto linked up to some kind of other address that was saved like in my Google, and it ended up going like all the way to China, and they're like, it's just lost. Like I went to the post office, waited in line forever, and they're like, yeah, it's gone. Like just file like a claim and you'll get money through your insurance. It was insured, but unfortunately it's like gone forever. And then meanwhile I was like, oh my god, I can't like clean safely. And the next day I got a random call in the morning, and it was like this very friendly guy, and he's like, hello there, is this Maya? My name's Cody, and I am here with the package for you. And then I get a knock on my door, and he hands me the package. And like that type of thing has happened over and over again since I've been on my Jupiter line. So it's not that problems don't happen, like problems still happen, but there's been divine solutions over and over again. I hope, God, and pray like that continues to happen. I've also like learned a lot since I've been here. Like I've significantly advanced my studies of human design, and in general I found it really lucky to like I found my way to like a lot of like good content and sources of intel on mystical topics. Like I recently returned them, but in my closet I had just, the library's just filled, and even with books that I think there's only like one printing of. Like I found this very rare book on, it said it was on telepathy, but really it was on like tons of psychic gifts and abilities and experiments that were done on them. And like, I've never seen this book, and I couldn't find it online, but it was like at my library and stuff like that. And I just discovered podcasts, and just my whole intake of information has been different. I think my readings are a lot better. They're definitely better than they were on my North Node line for sure. But I think they have an additional mystical quality too. So like, we'll wait and see. But I would recommend moving to your Jupiter line if you're born during the day, or your Venus line if you're born at night. Oh my god, I really want to make like a full video on this topic. Somebody asked, are all signs from the angels? Confirmation bias does exist. There's like, confirmation bias exists. So in this person's case, I don't think that is what is happening. But I could not tell you that every single time we think we're seeing a sign, that it is directly from the angels. I hesitate to say that a little bit, because if you're truly seeing things that are not there, and you do not have a soul agreement to have a mental illness, you're not exploring mental illness, there are ways for the guides to prevent that from happening. So one way would be like, let's say like you're seeing a sign over and over again, but every time you have like a gut feeling like, I'm looking for this, I don't think this one really meant anything. Like I was specifically looking like, and you just kind of have like a bad feeling, like it doesn't feel in integrity, then you're probably, you know, like that probably, it doesn't mean it's not a sign, but I would say the strength of it is less. It is possible, like if we're looking for signs for something that's truly going to like do us harm. So there's a lot of variation like in what is possible here, but if it's going to truly do us harm, the guides they are capable of causing our eyes to change. That's not something they're going to do frequently, okay, I'm being honest, but they are capable. So like they could make it so we actually do not see something if that thing is truly going to lead to like our destruction or devastation. However, if we're currently learning to discern our intuition, they may allow us to experience confirmation bias until we find our way with discerning what is a genuine sign. So to me, the more specific the sign, the more likely it's genuine. So like I like to assign my own meaning to angel numbers, for example. And I also like to write them down. And I have noticed that the guides respond heavily if I write something down. Like if I say, okay, if I see, like one of mine in particular is 7733 together, like that. So like a 4-digit number. And so I've written that down and specifically what it means. And I had an experience with like the day before yesterday. I mean, holy crap. I actually like in this case, I was like, I think the guides are actually making me see this and it could not possibly be here this many times. I was like walking through a parking lot and it was like everywhere. Like I saw it like on a person's shirt. I saw like the license plate. Like it was like, I could not believe, I still cannot believe this. So like, I don't know. So when you have awe, that's a sign it's real. When you get chills, that's a sign it's real. When you're going about your day and you're not expecting it and you see it, that's a sign that it's real. Those are signs that it's real. But yeah, we do experience confirmation bias. So if we're expecting to see something, we're looking for something, we will see it more. So the type of thing that was described with this person's comment seemed legitimate to me. But are all signs from the angels? It's hard to answer that definitively. It's hard to answer it definitively, but usually if it's not, we know. Usually our gut instinct is like, I'm making myself see this because I want to, if that's what's taking place. Somebody asked me about the Grand Cross. The Grand Cross. Okay, this is a lot of squares, right? Challenge to bring a bunch of forces together for the sake of something more. To me, this is a difficult challenge, but I don't know why, because I haven't studied this aspect very much, but I think fame, if you can do it. I think determination, because you will need to find a way to address each of the points and address each of the squares. And that's going to take some practice. You've got to bring together a bunch of different areas of life and develop some kind of skill or abilities in each of these particular areas. And that's going to take some time, and you're going to need to draw resources from each of the planets and the houses where each of the points are. And that's going to require like investment of time, and that's going to require time management, and that's going to require resource management in order to, I think, cultivate the blessing of each planet or point in each of the spots. But that is exactly what you should do. And then somehow bring it all together for the sake of like a larger project or for the sake of something more. And yeah, I think of like my own just like a single square. Like for example, I have a square from the 7th house to the 10th house. And I think how much I struggle like when I'm doing 10th house activities to maintain close relationships and stuff, and like how much of a struggle that is. Oh, it's time to end. Like, oh my gosh. Oh, this is so funny. Hello? I'm good. Can I call you back in just a minute? I'm just filming for YouTube. Okay, I'll call you back. Okay. Bye. All right. So the Grand Cross, yeah, this doesn't happen by accident. So, I mean, if you have a Grand Cross, it's meant to be, and this was carefully planned on your soul's journey, because there exists within you the ability to balance each of these areas and bring them together for the sake of destiny. But I think a lot of focus is required. Like if you have a Grand Cross, like you need to be aware of yourself, your goals, priorities, and your own challenges, and you need to work consistently and not be distracted. And I think of squares and I think of like turn taking. So there's probably a period of like cultivating, you know, one planet or point, and then cultivating the next, and then cultivating the next, and then cultivating the next, and then bringing them together. That's what I would think. Yeah, that's what I would think. Like, I don't know, I don't have this, thank God. Oh my gosh, like, okay. But if you do, I mean, I think you're like a really special person, but I don't. I do have 2 yods though, and that's, some people say they're not real. It depends, like which planets are involved, but I mean, they're real in my experience. Speaking of which, I'm having a yod activation right now, and this call is related to that I just had. Most likely, we're gonna see. But it's pretty shocking. So we're gonna see. I'm gonna call this person back. Thank you for watching. This has been a pretty crazy video. I'm very curious if you like it or what you think about this video. Like this is, like I said, it's like a frightening format for me. Like I kind of worked all day. I'm kind of disheveled, but you know, when business is busy, which it's been for the past week, this is the best way for me to get out a video without any editing and stuff like that. So I hope you liked it. Thank you for watching. If you watched to the end, God's greatest blessings to you. You're amazing. And yeah, have a great day and namaste. Bye.